Welcome to Tech Brothers. In this video I'm going to show you how to create a virtual machine using Hyper-V. So I have already installed Hyper-V Manager on this machine. We're going to use Hyper-V Manager to create virtual machines. I'm going to click on Start and I'm going to find Hyper-V Manager right here. Click on that. There are a couple ways that you can create a new virtual machine. One is right here. You can click on New and it'll give you option whether you wanted to create virtual machine, hard disk, or floppy disk. And other way to do it is right click on the server and click New and it'll give you the same option. So we're going to use this option. Click New Virtual Machine. First thing, it's going to ask you to name the virtual machine. So I'll name it Tech Brothers VM01, and you can change the location of the storage of this machine. I am going to change it. Click on this and excuse me, this is going to be the location of my virtual machine. You don't need to create the folder. If folder doesn't exist, it'll create on its own. So click Next. There are a couple options here, Generation 1 and Generation 2. Generation 1 is backward compatibility of Hyper-V machines, so we're not going to use that. We're going to click on Generation 2. Click Next. Here's the memory, how much memory you want to assign to your virtual machine. Right now it's half a gig, but I'm going to increase it to a gig. Depends how much memory you wanted to, how much memory you have, and how much memory you wanted to give it to this virtual machine. We're not going to use dynamic memory for this virtual machine, so I'm not going to click on that. Click Next. Now here is networking configuration. If you haven't installed or haven't created a virtual network, then you can create that later. But since I went ahead and I did that, and I'll show you later on in this video that how to create a virtual switch. So I'm gonna click on drop down menu and choose the virtual switch that I have created. Click Next. And if you have already created the hard disk using this option right here, you can go ahead and attach that hard disk right here. But since I didn't create the hard disk, so I'm gonna just go ahead and create it now. Here's the location where the hard disk is going to be, and in the beginning what it does is it grabs all the available hard disks on your machine where Hyper-V Manager is running. So you wanted to limit that. Please don't forget to change this value, otherwise it'll create a one big hard drive. So let's go ahead and do it 30 gig and click Next. And important thing here excuse me, if there are a couple options, you can install operating system later. Go ahead and create the virtual machine without operating system. However, in order to start the virtual machine, you have to give a bootable image file so that it can go ahead and install the install the operating system. But in 2012, what I felt, I got a couple errors if I try to do it right now. It's best idea that you go ahead and create without operating system, and then later on attach the operating system and start the machine. So we're gonna do that. Click Next. Here's the summary that what options that you have chosen while creating the virtual machine. Click Finish and it'll create a virtual machine for you. Alright, as you can see, the virtual machine is created. The state right now of virtual machine is off. We can go ahead and click on the newly created virtual machine and see some of the settings right here. You can access the settings from here, or you can right click on the virtual machine and go to the settings. So let's do that. You can add hardware using this menu. You can change the memory of your virtual machine, even though if you have configured it for 1 gig, if you wanted to give more memory, you can go ahead and do it here. As you remember that we have not actually given the operating system, so in order to do that we have to add a new hardware or called DVD. If you click on SCSI controller right here, it'll give you two options, either to create a hard drive or a DVD. We do need to create one DVD, as we have an image of operating system. I have an ISO file which I downloaded using my subscription. If you don't have ISO file, please download it, evaluation version. I'm using a 2012 R2 and data center, so you can go ahead and download it. That we do need prior to not creating the VM, but if you want to start your VM virtual machine, then you do need to provide the operating system. So let's click on DVD drive and add. Here a few options: specify the media to use for your virtual machine. We do have ISO file, so we're gonna click on image file, browse, and go to your image file. Here is the Windows Server 2012 R2, so I'm gonna choose that and hit apply, hit OK. Now our virtual machine is ready to start. We're gonna go ahead and boot our virtual machine and see if it starts installing the operating system. So right click and connect first. It'll give you a little interface. From here you can go ahead and click on this green button and it'll start the virtual machine and start installing the operating system. So we're gonna do that, and we're gonna click on any key to start the, as you can see, the operating system files are started. So it's gonna take a few minutes to install the operating system, so I'm gonna go ahead and pause the video, and once it's completed then I'll come back to it. Or maybe I should go ahead and actually show you how to install the operating system. So you click next, click on install now, Center Server Core installation or Data Center Server with GUI. So I'm going to select the second option because I like GUI and it's much easier to work with. So click next. Here's the hard drive that we have given while we created this VM. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep that as our C drive, or system drive I should say. Click next. Alright, the installation of Windows is started. So once the installation is completed, I'll come back to my video. I'm going to pause it now because it's going to take some time. It's restarting, and then we'll need to give password, administrator password, and we can create users later on. Okay, as you can see that it took about 2 to 3 minutes. I'm going to take that part that while I was waiting out of video, but the next thing it'll ask you to give the password for administrator. So go ahead and give strong password. You need to remember that password as well. Click on finish, and it's finalizing some settings, and after that it'll give us the desktop look of the operating system that we just installed. Alright, as you can see that it has finalized this setting, so we're gonna go ahead and sign in right now. Click on Alt. This little right here, the icon is a keyboard icon, and it's a Control Alt Delete. So click on that and put the password in that you just created. Just so that you know, when it was restarting, it took about 2 to 3 minutes, and when it was finalizing setting, it took about 5 minutes. It may not take that long on your environment because it depends on your memory and CPU. Mine on local, I gave 1 gig memory, and my CPU is not that strong, so it may not take as long. Again, so this is it for the video of creating a virtual machine using Hyper-V. Please stay tuned for the coming videos because I'll be creating 2 or 3 machines using the same steps, and also showing you to add and install different features of Windows 2012. Thanks for watching. I hope it helps.